News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And a very good morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And on this wonderful day, on a day in which the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka continues to hear the case for or against the so-called constitutional conundrum that is going on. Well, we're not going to comment on that because it is not our place to do so. Save to say that there's a lot of interest. Everybody is interested in what's going on. And of course, there's quite a few crowds outside the Supreme Court as well. And this morning, to discuss these matters is Mr. Azath Salley. He's going to be discussing, we thought we'd look at the international impact of everything. All right, so let's talk to Mr. Azath Salley. Very good morning to you, Mr. Salley.
Very good morning for us.
And thank you very much for coming on to Newsline. What is your take on the events surrounding that? We don't want to discuss.
See, for us, this should have been done long time ago.
Yeah.
When the PM was removed,
Yeah.
they should have gone to court. This
Yeah.
is what everybody was saying.
Yeah.
And we also saw Mr. Sumendran making a statement when he met with the bishop.
Mr. Sumandi, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made a statement to say that, no, we don't want to go there, we don't want to upset the whole thing. So that means they were not confident whether the removal was right or wrong.
Right.
So that indicated to everybody that more than the UNP, Mr. Sumendran, who wants to protect the Prime Minister from all evils.
Yeah.
Right? So this was going on, and now that the matter is before courts, is to see whether the Parliament dissolution is right or wrong, has been now taken up for hearing. And most probably it might end today, or might be tomorrow, the order might come.
Indeed.
But nevertheless, if you see the unruly behavior of some people who are in front of the courts, which gives a very wrong message to the public of Sri Lanka. I think the police will have to take some action and see that people who are going there are protected and not allowed or intimidated or being hooted down. Now we saw what happened to Vasudeva Nanayakara yesterday. But that is a place that you go for justice. And at that point, if people are hooted down, I think some enforcement
we need to, you're quite right. The Supreme Court is
the Supreme. I mean, there is nothing else to go.
It is Supreme, and we need to treat it with the respect that it deserves.
Exactly.
And anything and everything must be done to preserve the sanctity of the Supreme Court, because our very lives and how we live may well be affected by decisions of that Supreme Court, and we need to treat it as absolutely a good place that needs so much of respect. And I don't know if you remember, but some time ago, when we had there was protests with General Salley Fonseca at that time, and there was some commotion outside the Supreme Court. I told my colleague at the newspaper, it was my first time out as on the field as a reporter, if you like. And when the trouble started, I said to Mandy, I said, look, let's go towards the Supreme Court and we'll stand behind those gates. She said, are you mad? I said, well, nobody's going to stone the Supreme Court. And but unfortunately, they did. They did.
And even inside that room, they lit crackers.
That's right. So that was a bit bad, really. Now then, the other matter, of course, is the international sort of concern, if you like, meddling. If we start with the beginning of that, when they had this so-called meeting in Temple Trees. Now, Tamara Kurunayagam, Sri Lanka's former permanent representative in the UN, she took umbrage with this. She said that it's a systematic departure. We may have a clip of that a bit later on, actually. And she said that this was completely unacceptable because they met the day after Ranil Wickremesinghe had been given his marching orders by the president of the country. And she pointed out that if they wanted to meet, then they could have met with the president. There was nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with the president being the president. So and even then, she points out, they don't have to do that either. The proper procedure is to meet not even the foreign minister, but the foreign secretary. What were your thoughts at that time?
This has been right throughout going on from the day this government was formed, the national government was formed. They were always running behind the international community and the NGOs. They never had a feeling for the country. They never had a feeling of patriotism towards the country. They were always of the view that every single thing that is available must be sold out. That was the theme of the UNP headed by Ranil Wickremesinghe and Malik Samaravikraman. So this was the anger. Mostly if you take the Sri Lankans, their attitude towards this situation is very right, and they also feel, now if not in any other country, Faraz, even in Egypt, when people are ousted from their position, you can see people coming in their thousands, and they stay overnight and they never go. Here, everything was provided. Overnight, people were asked to come. They were coming with bottles, a pack of cards to play. You can see what was happening at Temple Tree, which never ever happened at Temple Tree. They were playing cards, they were singing, they were dancing, they were having alcohol. All that was happening at Temple Tree. Are we creating a bad precedence? See, can we afford to do that? Okay, were you able to muster a crowd that came and sat for over 24 hours and wanted the president to withdraw his removal? Nothing happened. Nobody had the guts or audacity to do that, because they knew they had not fulfilled the aspiration of the masses. So they couldn't even muster the crowd.
And this was in stark contrast to what, do you remember when he lost his job? When he was back from the US, and it took him several hours to get to Temple Tree from the airport. Now that was quite different.
Not only that, when Chandrika removed 3 ministries, right? The crowd that came into Colombo.
Let's listen to this cut on what Tamara Karunakam had to say about that bit.
And just a couple of things that I find really outrageous. And that's this special meeting of foreign envoys with an ousted Prime Minister in Temple Trees the day after he was already, a new Prime Minister had been appointed. Now, what is the normal procedure for communication of foreign envoys when they, with regard to their host country? The procedure is that they have to go, the normal channel is you go through the foreign secretary. You don't go straight to the president or the prime minister or anybody. You go not even to the foreign minister. You go through the foreign secretary. That's the normal channel of communication. The Western countries have systematically violated that fundamental principle of going through an established channel. That is one point. But if, let's say, they had to talk to the president or they had to speak to the prime minister, then they could have met with the president of the country. He was not ousted. There was no problem with his being president. I don't know if there's a problem with his being a president. But they could have gone and talked to him. No, they chose to go and speak to Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was already out. Instead of staying out of that problem that has been created artificially by those who have been defeated. I disagree that this is a political crisis. This is a crisis, so-called, that has been created, it's been created artificially and presented as a political crisis. It is a crisis, I see it is a systemic crisis, and I will go into that later. It is a systemic crisis. This is the result of a systemic crisis, and it's a problem of intervention in a political order of a foreign state, a sovereign state. Then the whole discussion following that special meeting in Temple Trees, that's when the narrative was spread. Soon after that this was unconstitutional. So there was a kangaroo court, in fact, effectively functioning inside Temple Trees.
A kangaroo court inside Temple Trees.
That was the truth. That was said. Now for us,
I wanted to ask you this, Azath Salley. Do you know, because people are wondering why you are why I'm discussing the international perspective with you. There's a reason, actually. As you come from the minority background, you have more than usual contact with the Middle East, for example. And that's why I want to ask you this. Now, in the Middle East, you have, it's a different kind of system of governance. In Saudi Arabia, you have a kingdom, for example, and you are there and so on. How does this sit there? How do you feel? How would it be for the, I don't know, the EU ambassadors or any ambassadors for that matter to go and have meetings with the person
who
was ousted as the crown prince, and you leave out MBS and you go and speak with Prince Talal, who was ousted. I want to know what happened there.
Who kept on house arrest.
He's now under house arrest. What would have happened there?
See, I mean, it doesn't work anywhere like that. See, if you take for us, the first statement made by the Vice President of the US, when Hambantota Harbour was given, they made a statement. Did you see that statement? What did he say? China is pumping millions of dollars into Sri Lanka, enabling Sri Lanka that Sri Lanka will not be able to repay. After some time, they will take over the harbour, which they have already done, and later, at a time there is problem in the area, they will use it as their base. So that was the first objection when China was given the harbour. The so-called same America is issuing statement to protect the Sri Lanka's constitution. Right, well and good. Now for us, just 4 days ago, you saw a gunman killing 16 people on the road and injuring several in California. So this is a daily occurrence in America. A country that speaks of so much of diplomacy, so much of democracy, cannot protect their own citizens. So this America is today telling Sri Lanka, look, protect the constitution. Constitution is protected. We will know that in another few hours we will know whether the constitution is protected or handled badly. Now, we saw time and again people making statements that the judiciary was not independent. You saw Mr. Rajapaksa making that statement earlier, about a month ago. Then others also said that appointment, this appointment also there. But now at last, now both parties have come to a state to say that the independence of the judiciary is there. Right. So we all accept that the judiciary is today independent. So let us wait.
Of course.
Let us wait today, but nobody should be intimidated.
Absolutely.
Is my issue, right? Anybody has a right to go before Supreme Court. Even today, some people can intervene today. Intervening petitioners can always go today, because usually when you apply for when you make your registration for a case, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to be called. Here on emergency, they have called. The other parties have not been informed of this. So now the parties concerned will have to get what they have filed. All these 12 applications that are there, we must know what these 12 are there for us to have counter objections there. So that opportunity also must be given. So probably it might not end today, it might end tomorrow or day after, but before Friday, all what we know, before Friday there will be an order made, and the country can enjoy either way. There is no problem that way. But now you see suddenly the change of events at Temple Trees. Now have you ever in your life see the Prime Minister talking behind 4 Sri Lankan flags? For the first time, he has become a little patriotic. Right? Now I see him talking to the media with 4 Sri Lankan flags.
Well,
Never ever this Prime Minister have been doing that. If anybody will send me a picture that he had addressed this way, I'll be very happy to see. But because of this non-patriotism only, all this situation.
But
you wanted to sell the whole country off.
What do you think? Well, you get patriotic from time to time, and so I don't want to it's good that he's patriotic.
Yeah.
All right.
Somebody has taught him to be patriotic.
That's good that he's willing to learn.
Learn, yeah.
Because what's that motto? Learn or depart.
Depart.
Yeah. Now, anyway, so but what I'm trying to get at is what about how will these? We have the Americans and Europe and so on looking at it in this way. What about the impact from the Middle East? Especially because we are...
Middle East is always all the countries in the Middle East are very, very clear in anything. Even as Muslims, when we make our representation to the Muslim countries, they have always said, these are internal affairs of Sri Lanka, don't drag us into it. This is the attitude of the Middle Eastern countries. Right? So they will never interfere. Unlike the EU or America, they will not interfere into any country. Whichever government that is there, they will work with that government. That is the actual situation. Here also for us, the situation is very, very clear. Right? How the president summoned Karu Jayasuriya to form the government, how he formed. See, for a moment I am not happy that it was given to Mahinda Rajapaksa. That's a different story altogether. Right?
Yeah.
But he also had no other option but to do that. Because what it says is...
But he said that.
He said that.
He said this is his third choice.
Third choice. Because he called the former deputy leader of the party, Karu Jayasuriya, for 8 months. Then he called Sajid Premadasa for last 2 months. Both of them said no. Even now, have they come out of this problem in the UNP? It's a big no. Because as long as everybody knows, Ranil Wickremesinghe will never.
But this is
ever
their part.
leave.
But this is their party.
Never, see, what I always said was, never ever leave that leadership there.
Yes.
Now also is coming to a compromise of what? Sajid will be Prime Minister candidate. I am the presidential candidate. Just to keep the leadership intact. So this is the biggest problem. So nobody who has gone out of the party is going to come back.
Now then, you may be able to answer this question. Here on Newsline, we welcome your questions whilst we're on live. And the number is 0772 300 305. It should come up on your screen. 0772 300 305. Please don't call it, send us an SMS. And here's one that's already arrived, and it says here, the current envoys are not diplomats. They are more like international bullies. That's one. Another one says, do you know where that wonderful royalist Malik Samaravikrama is? He seems to be missing these days, and this person who sends it signs off and says, I am a senior citizen.
See, for us, this is what I've been right throughout saying. Where is this Malik? Has he kept a press conference at least? Has he addressed the nation and say, I am the person who was responsible for the downfall of this government. I am the person who was responsible for the ousting of the leader of the UNP. He was the man.
Is he really?
All nefarious activities that had taken place. The main reason for all this sellout of the country is by Malik Samaravikrama. People whom, the so-called people who were saying that who were having the money of the Rajapaksas in Dubai, right, the Marriott Hotel guys, they were brought back to Sri Lanka and invested that money. And you know how we have discussed this issue earlier, so I don't want to repeat it. But you know how this money came and who is part of that company also is Mr. Malik Samaravikrama. Right? Time and again he comes from that company, goes into this company, from this company to that company, but he is the man. So this UNPS not only will have to get rid of Ranil Wickremesinghe, but before Ranil Wickremesinghe, the UNPS will have to get together and ensure that Malik Samaravikrama is not in the UNP. Only then the UNP can prosper. Only then the UNP can think of good governance. Until otherwise, there won't be good governance. There will be people who are going to work because they were not allowed to work. Every ministry was interfered and instructions were given saying it's from the Prime Minister's office and Mr. Malik Samaravikrama gives the order. So this was the issue. Where was the investment for us? From the time he took office, can he pinpoint and tell us this is the amount of investment that I brought into this country? Why did people run out of this country? They couldn't bear the hassle and the punishment that were given by Malik Samir to the investors who came into this country.
Please tell us whether you promote the case of MR's family bandyism.
No way. This is what we say, Now for us, did you see my statement? The new Justice Minister has said that you must abolish the 3 new High Courts.
Why?
No way. No way. We have condemned that completely, because let it be robberies of the Rajapaksa regime, let it be robberies of the Ranil Wickremesinghe regime.
Right.
All these things have to be investigated.
Yeah.
All what the people of this country want, that we can't allow anybody to rob the country. So this investigation, this court must remain.
Yeah.
And those investigations has to continue on a daily basis, and no way that Sushil Premachandra will go and do things that will be detrimental to the country. What we want is justice to take place. Judiciary is independent. Everybody has confidence that they have gone before the Supreme Court. So the courts must be left alone. No
I'm going to take this message from a viewer, but it's I think it's a bit of a jokey message. 50% of the UNP MPs are royalists. Most of the business sector are led by royalists. Is there democracy in this country of 23 million people? Oh, come on. Right? We can't take that. There's another viewer from Akurana. He says that, he or she, I don't know, says that Azath Salley asked this question. Azath Salley is a failed politician. True or false?
What is it?
Azath Salley is a failed politician.
Failed?
Failed.
How can anybody say that? I have never failed in my politics.
You're still at it.
Even in the area that she has written, or he or she has written, I have been number 1.
Right.
So wherever I go, and I can, if this election is coming, I will prove who I am.
Yes. There's obviously somebody who doesn't like you, who's sending this. No, there's another one. Right, well, we'll just leave that. We can't get personal, right? Why can't the President send back any of these diplomats as an example, not to interfere in the internal affairs, like President Premadass has sent the British diplomat David Clarkson?
I think we should not go into that level of diplomacy, but only thing, inform them very politely that these are Sri Lankan internal issues, and we have the ability and the capability to sort it out among ourselves. That we can do, and we have done that before also. So sending off an envoy is going to give wrong signals to the international community, because what we know is these diplomats also don't inform the correct situation there. Now, if you see
so
the first meeting,
we have to wait for WikiLeaks to come out.
The first meeting was with Prime Minister, as Tamara said.
Yeah.
They went and met the Prime Minister. He totally misled them by
showing
the English, the Constitution.
Yeah.
Right? Mr. Sumendran's and Jayampati Vikramatne's Constitution was shown to the international community that way.
Yeah.
Only President had to make that clarification and see the singular copy.
Yeah.
But what does the Constitution say for us? If there is a crisis like this, and if there is 2 interpretation, you are supposed to take the singular Constitution only.
Yeah.
So that was taken, and things were done according to that. So now that is before Supreme Court. So let us wait. Then it will be seen by the international community also, which is right and which is wrong. So what we say is, Sri Lanka diplomacy, Sri Lanka's political thing will move on smoothly. There is no problem of anybody trying to do anything. Whether it is right or not has to be seen by the court today or.
And will you be going to the Supreme Court today to hear the counter arguments?
I have no time for that.
Really?
Yeah.
Won't you find that interesting to listen to the counterpoint?
See, I have always been an intervening petitioner. On the 20th Amendment also, my party was an intervening petitioner in that case. So, I mean, whatever that we do, because here we didn't have much time to see this for us. There are lawyers who are calling that we will intervene in this, but we don't have time because we don't have the document with us as to what to do. So, we'll have to wait and see.
So, your faith is with the Supreme Court.
The whole country's faith is in the Supreme Court today.
Absolutely. Of course, we have a report out there, and
time and again they'll give you the
we will give updates as in whatever updates we can do, and I believe I'm going there. I've been
See,
told,
Faraz, as I have told you earlier also, grand old party, the United National Party,
yeah,
right, which has been in this country, the
Yeah.
first party, and 72 years of existence.
yeah,
We have had 7 leaders,
yeah,
out of which 6 leaders have governed this country
Yeah.
for 47 years only. 6 leaders for 47 years. But
Well,
Mr.
there you go.
Mr.
Yeah.
Vikramasinghe is just starting his 25th year as the party leader of the UNP. Never been able to win an election, nor be a good opposition leader for a full term.
Well, that's another record on its own.
That will be entered in the
There you
Guinness
go. Just in case you've been put out by that previous message, somebody saying coming to your rescue. Welcome, Mr. Azath Salley. I always enjoy listening to you as you are fearless and prepared to call a spade a spade. Well done.
Thank you.
And thank you, anyway, Mr. Azath Salley, for coming to Newsline, to News First, and sharing your thoughts and so on. All this is very...
See, for us, it's a question of not supporting MR or Ranil.
yeah,
Today, whatever mistakes that MR made,
yeah,
we brought the change. The whole country, all communities got together, made the change, not for Mr. Vikramasinghe and Malik to rob the country,
yeah.
right? If you see the list of things they have done in the last 3.5 years, what a damaging thing they have done to this country. How damaging? Can you
But we
estimate
must-
the damage?
Yeah.
You can't. What was the MP saying? You see, more than me talking for us, if you watch TV for the last 3.5 years, what is the MP's voice? Take the voice cuts of all the MPs who have spoken. Take the press conferences. Api horu helluve ne.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing that every MP, every minister spoke no. Eke parakwa tino, eke monare kumantarne tino. This was said. And none of these guys had the capability or capacity to question the leadership at the executive council meetings.
Yeah.
At the working committee meeting, they never questioned him, but they were only giving voice cuts. But we openly told.
I think we've run out of time, and they're shouting in my ears, right? So, Azath Salley, thank you very much for being on Newsline. However, I want to leave you with a message from a member of the public who I know, because the number keeps coming up, is a regular viewer, so thank you for that. And the message is, the envoys, the diplomats, are mirroring the dysfunction exhibited by our educated politicians.
This candy message that came,
Yes.
you remember? The Akurana message,
Yes.
that is coming from a fellow who had robbed the country.
Oh, is
So
it?
that is one of his stooges who is typing this message out. So I have no problem. So these investigations will prove who this person also is.
Well, Azath Salley, thank you very much indeed. I'm off to the Supreme Court later in the day to go and listen to the arguments. It's very interesting to listen to the different sides of the argument, of the narrative.
And today will be a very interesting day.
And today will be an interesting day indeed. And it's open to the public. I'm told that it's so full that we will have only standing room, sitting room, any room. I want to be there because it's part of history. And thank you very much for watching Newsline. Do take care. Have a great day. And God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.